And here's a study of over 100,000 Chinese adults on how much cruciferous vegetables they consumed, showing that in the highest quintile of cruciferous vegetable intake, you saw the longest lived people with no threshold effect. You know what I mean by no threshold effect? With mushrooms, we see a threshold effect. In other words, you have mushrooms going up and you see longer life and lower rates of cancer, but at a certain threshold of mushroom intake, having more mushrooms doesn't show a more benefit. It doesn't continue the benefits. Once you've reached a certain amount, you've gotten the full benefits there. With green vegetables, there's no threshold. The more you consume, the longer you live. And they didn't see any lowering of that effect, that how green vegetables were the most effective modulator of lifespan. You following that? Now what's that? I don't know. I guess that's different for all of it. Don't forget, I don't want you to overeat. I don't want you to eat too many calories. I don't want you to eat till you're stuffed. I want you to eat the right amount of food, but I want you to have a big salad every day with some cruciferous vegetables, with green vegetables and some raw cruciferous. And I also want you to have a serving every day of some type of conservatively cooked green cruciferous vegetables like broccoli, kale, bok choy, or something other green vegetable besides the salad as well. I usually have that cooked vegetable wok with the broccoli and the cabbage and the mushrooms and the onions at dinner, and I usually have my salad with a bowl of vegetable bean soup for lunch and a piece of fruit for dessert. That's pretty much the structure of my diet. I'm not trying to overeat. It's more chronic exposure to these foods, regular exposure over and over again to these beneficial foods in your diet on a daily basis, that it gets you the protection against cancer, rather than forcing yourself to eat a lot at one time. Now, this plant cell that you're seeing on the screen is a cell that depicts what a plant cell, a green plant cell looks like, with the glucosinolates in the center and the myrosinase in a little packet in the cell wall. The part of that enzyme, myrosinase, is heat sensitive. So that means that if you're cooking the food, the myrosinase can be deactivated. But as I chew the food and break open the myrosinase from its packet in the cell wall, it mixes with the glucosinolates, and you form the ITCs in your mouth as you're chewing. So the better you chew, the more anti-cancer materials you're forming. And of course, you're mixing with the bacteria in the mouth, forming more nitrous oxide and other beneficial compounds from chewing the vegetable as well. Now, if we're putting the vegetable in, if we're taking that green vegetable, like the bok choy or the cabbage, and putting it in a soup, we want to blend it first in the Vitamix or the blender while it's raw, so we can break open those cell walls and form the ITCs, and then pour it in the soup to cook. We don't want to add it to the soup, heat it up, and then blend it. We want to blend it while it's raw and then cook it. Or we want to make our wok broccoli and cabbage at night, so we're putting a little water in the wok, and we're putting the timer on, so we're wokking to 6 to 8 minutes. We want to keep it al dente, a little bit not overcooked, because cooking in that low range of cooking for just 5 to 8 minutes in a wok to make it taste good is not going to kill all the myrosinase. Did you follow that? If I just blanched it for a minute in hot water, it won't kill all the myrosinase. But if I steamed it for 20 minutes, it's going to all be gone. Or if I boiled it in a soup for an hour, it's going to all be gone. In other words, a little bit of cooking isn't going to lose it, but the more you overcook, then the more you lose these beneficial compounds. And in a nutritarian diet, we mix. We have these vegetables raw, and we also have them in the form of conservatively cooked so we don't destroy all the myrosinase. But we can also add some raw myrosinase-containing foods to like mustard greens or arugula watercress or a little mustard seed, or we could add something with myrosinase to the cooked vegetables to have more myrosinase activity in the digestive tract as well. Okay, leaving green vegetables for a minute, going on to beans. There's that bean guy. Let me go on to the, I'm sorry because that's fine, limited questions, but we'll get towards the end if you don't mind. Yes, we don't want to, we put it in the Vitamix so we make it into a slurry, a thick slurry. So we put onions and leeks in there too, because the onions have that compound called alliinase, which is heat sensitive. You know when you cut an onion, it makes your eyes tear because you form sulfenic acid? Well, at the same time you're forming that sulfenic acid, you're forming all these anti-cancer organosulfate compounds. We put it in the Vitamix or the blender to blend them down, so while it's still raw, we don't want, once they're blended down and the compounds are formed, then the heat will not destroy the organosulfate compounds or the ITCs. They only would have prevented them from forming if you heated it too high before you blended it down or before you opened up the myrosinase or the alliinase cell wall. You following that now better? Okay. It's complicated, I know.